What's going on, people? It's Matt Perry here, and I hope you're well. And we are back with a brand new Football Manager video. Sorry, it's been a while since there's been another Football Manager video. Obviously, a couple of days ago, I did the Oxford United one with Aaron Ramsey. But other than that, there hasn't really been any other videos from me. Just taking a couple of days to really think about what I'm going to do a video on next. The Brighton news is very speculative at the moment. So in terms of actually things coming through, I know we're looking to sign a couple of defenders, but until something actually comes through that's official, then I'm not going to be able to sit to do that. And I prefer to not make videos about it being speculative unless it's looking for dead certain that it's going to happen. But anyway, so what we're doing today. So a couple of hours ago, or maybe just an hour ago at the time of this recording, at the moment it is 20 to 4 in the afternoon on the day that Manchester City have just secured their new manager signing. Enzo Maresca is now the new manager at Manchester City. If you know about Enzo Maresca has been at the club for 3 times in the youth academy setup. And then he was a number 2 to Pep. And then he went on to do his own thing. I think he was manager at Leicester. He was manager at Leicester for a year. And then he went to Chelsea. Chelsea employed him. And then he lost his job at Chelsea. So he's taken some time. And he is now the new manager of Manchester City after Pep Guardiola's 10 years being Manchester City manager. So it's going to be really cool to see exactly how this team will set up. Are they going to be winning trophies with this team, or are they going to really fall short of what's expected at the club, which is obviously to win the Premier League again, to challenge for the Champions League at the higher stages, and get both the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup? The stakes are pretty high for a club like Manchester City. So is he going to come in, fulfill those promises, or is this going to be a very disappointing term for Manchester City? We'll find out soon. But before we get into the simulation of the first half of the season, their first couple of matches, they've got Arsenal in the Community Shield. Crystal Palace is their first Premier League away game. The Champions League matches haven't been announced yet. The first home fixture is against Ipswich. Then an away trip to Man United, at home to Tottenham, Everton, Fulham. And then their final match at the end of the first half of the season is a trip to Anfield. And they've also got a match, a couple on Boxing Day against Brighton. So going to be interesting. And then the final match at the end of the season is a home match against Bournemouth. So they look like they've got the run to be able to win that Premier League title. But let's have a look and see exactly if they start well in the first half of the season. Right, and we have finished the first half of Manchester City season. So we're going to have a look and see how they have done. How have Man City done in the Premier League? Are they going to be okay? They are third in the league. So people could say that's that's not good enough. But actually they are third. They're not totally out of position, but they are third. But obviously there has been some matches where they have slipped up, hence why they haven't been able to get themselves onto top spot. But you have a look at their first games. They lost the Community Shield. That's obviously not going to be a good result. With Bukayo Saka getting both goals happen that way. But you have a look at their other results. They do get their first victory, but for their first 2 games, they really struggled. They got a draw against Crystal Palace, despite Crystal Palace being down a man. But they win their first home match 4-0. But then they have some pretty interesting and shocking results. Like you have a look at Slovan. I haven't heard of this team before. Slovakian team end up getting a point against Manchester City, which isn't great at all. And then they play Arsenal in the Premier League and they get a draw against them. Other matches obviously go well. They get a win against Villa. You probably would expect that. Like Coventry, they beat, but they lose to Chelsea as well. So Enzo loses to his old team. And then you also have a look at other results where they do win against Leverkusen slightly. goals from Haaland there. But then in their last match of the season, of the first half, sorry, it's a 1-0 to Liverpool, and Jadon Dans, who's who's a youngish player for Liverpool, looks like he could be a future player at the club. Scores a penalty to win the match for Liverpool. But you have a look at it, like they didn't do well in the Carabao Cup. The Carabao Cup, they got knocked out in the fourth round by Norwich City. Absolutely insane. Semedo got sent off as well. So like people could say this is a very disappointing start. Like they've been knocked out by Norwich. Like they didn't do the best in the Champions League phase, where they were getting, like, okay, they were winning, but people probably say they could do a bit better in the Champions League phase. And the Premier League, they're only third. So what does this say? And they lose 2-1 to Atletico Madrid. So how does this fare for Enzo going up into the second half of the season? Are they going to be able to catch on and do it? And they have two more matches in the Champions League against the Borussia Dortmund and Paris Saint-Germain. How does this happen for Enzo? Is Enzo going to be able to turn this around and get Man City into the top of the league and have more convincing results? Or is this going to be a struggle for Manchester City in this hypothetical save? So anyway, we're going to have a look and see exactly how he does at the end of the season. Because, boy, if you don't improve this and they end up finishing below second and they don't do well in the Cups, Enzo could be gone. Right, we are back. So a good indication to use is that Enzo Maresca hasn't been sacked from his job. So what has happened? Has he been able to make Man City better than the last half of the season? And hopefully, has he been able to win them trophies and got them above? So they win the Premier League. So they managed to turn it around. They finished first. Enzo Maresca has won the Premier League with Manchester City. It's another Premier League title. Have a look at their start into the second half of the campaign. A 1-1 draw with Manchester United. Not the best result in the world, but they do get on to win matches. But you can notice that there's not really many thrashings with this team. Like, they do end up winning the matches, but sometimes they do go behind, like Everton winning 1-0 at the time, and then they end up slipping up to Man City. But you have a look at Tottenham as well. And 1-1, Tottenham, Man City. Kuda scoring that equalising goal just after the start of the second half. They play Fulham in the third round of the FA Cup with a win. But then they get into the Champions League phase. And that's a 2-1. But you have a look and, like, Man City do go behind quite a lot. Obviously, hypothetically, they would look to solve that and make sure they can start the game winning rather than losing. But again, it's another thing. They seem to be the comeback kings, going 1-0 down a lot of the times, but they end up winning the match in the end. But sometimes it doesn't work. Paris Saint-Germain beat them 1-0 in the Champions League phase. Obviously, it looks like they've gone through like without any problems, but it's still interesting. But they do get a 2-0 victory against Fulham. But you have a look at this. Okay, they win. They win at the beginning. Win against Hull. And then this match, fourth round of the FA Cup, where they go 1-0 down to Palace, but they end up winning in the 91st minute in extra time with Mamouche getting a thing. But there is no FA Cup win for Manchester City. They get knocked out in the fifth round to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, who are obviously contenders in real life to get back into the Premier League. Have a look at see exactly how they did. You can't really see exactly what happened. But it looks like West Ham went straight back up. But it's only because I just set it to thingy. But despite all this, they have gone on a run in the Champions League, winning 1-0 against Sporting with 2 goals again at home to Sporting. So that's 3-1 on aggregate. And then they play Real, his Palace. Real, his Palace. I'm trying to think, is that Betis or is that Madrid? Maybe that's Madrid. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like to be Betis. So Alaba, who's obviously gone to Betis, which is is interesting. But then you have a look. You have a look at the thingy, and then they get into the Champions League semi-finals against Liverpool, where they beat Liverpool 3-1, 4-2 on aggregate overall, with a win against Villa, a win against Nottingham Forest, and a win against Bournemouth, to get them the Premier League title. I haven't seen the exact title, but they have a final match, and it's against Real Madrid for the Champions League. Could they win their second Champions League, hypothetically? We're going to watch this and see exactly if they are going to be into that Champions League final season. Where Haaland's playing, Doku playing, Foden playing. Doesn't seem to have they have made like any signings. I think their squad seems to be okay as it is. But you have a look at their team. Mohamed Salah plays for Real Madrid. Cucurella obviously plays for Real Madrid now in the new update and in real life, obviously. But you have a look at this, and it is the highly anticipated game. Will Man City be able to get their Champions League and get the double this season, or will it be Real Madrid's title? With Conte has signed for Real Madrid as well. Bellingham, they're passing the ball around pretty quickly. Cucurella. It's the ball to Mbappe. Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. had a chance there, but he missed it. Xerxes, Rodri, Haaland, Gonzalez to Foden, and it is a goal. Manchester City 1-0 up against Real Madrid. And it doesn't look like it's offside either. Rodri passing it right there. You can see the replay. Haaland to Gonzalez. A lovely ball. Real Madrid are just totally open. And Phil Foden slots it into the bottom right corner. I don't know why there's not any fans. I don't know why there's not any fans. Like I don't get that. Foden. Haaland 2-0 to Manchester City. And Enzo. Doesn't look like there's going to be any offsides for that. And it is 2-0 to Manchester City. Great possession ball. Foden already on the goal. Passes it to Haaland. And Haaland does shoot. And it is 2-0 Manchester City. Courtois couldn't save that. If he popped their game. If they are going to win the Champions League again. Arnold. To Salah. Salah's been really quiet in the highlights. But they might have a chance to do something. Anyway, speak of the Devils. Salah. Vinicius Jr. scores. Is that going to be offside? Any offsides? It doesn't look like it's going to be offside. But Real Madrid have their goal. Maybe they have their goal. Was that going to be disallowed? Nope, it's a goal for Real Madrid. There's a ball from Mbappe. Salah had a shot. I was going to pass it. And Vinicius Jr. has that chance. Third goal. Haaland to Rodri. To Savino. To Rodri. Savino. And it is a goal. Phil Foden. That cross from Savino, I think it was meant to be a shot. But it goes on to the head of Phil Foden. Unless it's going to be disallowed. Nope, it's going to be 3-1 Manchester City. Some people could say that was offside, but he's managed to get himself into a position where he's just on. I don't think he realised he was going to be able to header that in, but it is a chance. Phil Foden has got that third goal. Gonzalez, Foden, Rodri. Ball to Haaland, 4-1. Ooh. Nearly 4-1 to Manchester City. Great save by Courtois. Haaland totally onside with no defenders. But a chance here for Manchester City. Is that? Oh, still in. There was a header. Rodri. No, Diaz, sorry. Rodri. Foden has a chance. Manchester City. Rodri. Jose. Foden. Foden's got a chance. Is that going to be 4-1? And it is 4-1. What a night for Phil Foden. Is that a hat trick for Phil Foden? No. And it is exactly that. 4-1 to Manchester City. They win the Champions League. And they're going to be proud that Enzo has won the Premier League and the Champions League in his first season with Manchester City. Big stuff. Obviously, it's saying it's the obviously they're saying it's the 2026. Obviously, this would be the 2027 final. So, but the chance for Enzo, that kind of looks like Enzo, not really, but yeah. Anyway, he's bald at least. But Maresca has won his first Champions League in charge of Manchester City, first league in charge of Manchester City. And I think that's his first major trophy as a manager as well. So it's pretty good. But I think, wait, didn't he win the FA Cup with Leicester? No, I don't think he did he? Anyway. Phil Foden gets a hat trick. Vinicius Jr. does try and provide a consolation for Real Madrid, but Man City take it over and it is their game. And that is the Enzo Maresca simulation. If you liked my video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. I've been Mac Perry, and yeah, see you later. Bye bye.